Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. So the last update about Twist of Fate, Siddharth confessed to be the father of Prachi's baby and everyone were shocked hearing Siddharth, and Rambru got angry and he beat Siddharth to the extent that Siddharth begins to bleed. So let's continue. Jita, that is the goon that Aliyah hired to kill Siddharth, calls Aliyah and says that he is outside her house to get his money. Aliyah asks, "How dare you to come here?" She comes out. Jita asks Aliyah to give him the money. Aliyah says Siddharth is still alive inside. Jita threatens Aliyah to give him his money, else they have the picture and a recording. Aliyah goes inside to bring the money. The other goon asks Jita that where is the recording. Jita says we said it and she agreed. Aliyah brings the money and gives it to them. Jita asks Aliyah to call them when needed and he goes. Rhea applies bandage to Rambru's forehead and says, "I had loved you and I love you even till now." She says, "I will love you always." Rambru asks Rhea to stop it and says, "Don't you understand simple thing? I don't love you, but I love Prachi." Rhea says love just happens and says Siddharth loves Prachi and Prachi also loves Siddharth. Rhea asks Rambru not to burden himself and see who is loving him. Rambru asks Rhea to stop it. Rhea says to Rambru that Prachi is lying to you and you are loving her. Rhea asks Rambru that what is my mistake that I love you and I give place to you in my heart. I always speak to you and says I have always been loyal to you. Rambru says I am not talking about you. Aliyah hears them and says to Rambru that Rhea is incomplete without you. Aliyah asks Rambru to understand Rhea's love and accept her. Aliyah says Rhea's love is completely devoted to you and says if your love is truthful, then Rhea's love is also truthful. Rambru says Prachi used to apply bandage like this to me. Rhea says to Rambru that Prachi used to care for you, but she has no purity. In the room, Shahana asks Prachi and says that Rambru trusts you. She says she doesn't understand why Siddharth lied. Prachi tells Shahana that there was something in Rambru's eyes and says it was not nice. She says she wants to talk to Rambru. Shahana asks why is Prachi starting a new matter. Prachi says to Shahana that I just want to know what Rambru is thinking and what is his perspective after Siddharth confidently says that he is the father of my baby. Shahana says Rambru is with you. Prachi says let me talk to Rambru and Prachi leaves the room. In Rambru's room, Rambru asks Aliyah to go. Rhea says you cannot talk to my aunt like that and she provokes him that both of them were broken and something happens between them and they get pregnant. Rhea says we both were broken and sad, but we knew our limit. We did not have any physical relationship before marriage. Aliyah says to Rambru that Prachi should have known her limitations and these things comes to know about ups and downs and Siddharth and Prachi must have been having an affair for a long time before Prachi get pregnant for Siddharth. Rhea says I know about their affair and Rambru and I have seen them in the hotel room. Rambru asks Aliyah and Rhea to go. Aliyah asks Rambru to think because she is saying the truth. Rhea says the truth will not change and says if he ignore it, then also the truth will remain the same. Rhea says if you have accepted in the hotel, then this wouldn't have happened. Prachi comes to Rambru's room. Rambru recalls Siddharth saying that Prachi gave her pregnancy news to him first. Rhea sees Prachi and asks, "Why did you come here? It is over. Just leave Rambru alone." Prachi says, "I want to talk to Rambru." Rhea asks, "Didn't you understand?" Rambru says, "Go from here, Rhea. I need to talk to Prachi." Rhea says to Rambru that I won't let this happen. Rambru says if you don't let us talk, then I will go away from here with Prachi. Rhea goes from there. Aliyah asks Rhea to be with Rambru. Rhea says I did not leave him. He asked me to go. Aliyah says to Rhea that why did you not get stubborn with him and stay with him by force? Rhea says to Aliyah that Prachi came there and she insisted to talk to Rambru. Rhea says Rambru asked me to go, else it would take Prachi somewhere to talk. She says I just couldn't take that risk. Rhea says we have proved that Prachi's baby is of Siddharth. Then also Rambru wants to talk to Prachi. Rhea says this means that my reputation is still the same. Aliyah says to Rhea that Prachi is flickering just like lamp flickers before setting off. She says the male ego is very big and says Rambru will not accept someone else's child. Rhea says we are saying that Rambru's baby is of Siddharth and says I don't know what they are talking about. Prachi walks towards Rambru. Rambru also walks towards Prachi. Prachi says she wants to ask Rambru something. Rambru asks Prachi to ask him. Prachi asks, "Do you trust me?" Rambru nods his head. Prachi says you used to say this day and night. Rambo says, I trust you that you love me. You felt bad with whatever happened outside, and I believe you. Rambo says to Prachi that I love you after whatever happened, but this love is hurting me more than happiness. Rambo is about to hold Prachi's face, and he says, can I? Rambo says, I thought to ask you first. Prachi says, please make me understand. You are asking me as if you are thinking that I am of someone else. Rambo says, no. Prachi says to Rambo that you don't know what you are thinking and feeling. Prachi says, I can understand, and says, just tell me that you are believing Siddharth and not me. Rambo says, I don't know. My heart wants to trust you. He asks, why didn't you tell me about your baby? Rambo asks Prachi why she did not tell him about her baby from the beginning. Prachi asks, my baby? Rambo says, I mean our baby. Rambo says, why didn't you tell me when I came to the hospital? Rambo says, I thought you did not tell me, thinking I will accuse you. Rambo says he waited for Prachi and he was given her time to tell him, and says, I was happy about your pregnancy. Rambo says to Prachi that I had bought that rented apartment for us and I thought to start our parenting there. Rambo says I wanted to do everything for you and I was ready to leave everything as I just wanted you. Rambo says I was not happy to become a father, but I was happy as you are making me to become a father. Rambo says to Prachi that I was happy to become a father because you were about to bring that happiness to this world and I wanted to give you all the happiness. Rambo says now Prachi asks Rambo to stop and she asks if you trust me or not. Rambo says no and says it is not that simple. Rambo says to Prachi that he is feeling bad and he asks if Prachi ever think of what he went through. Rambo says, I know that you were shattered the day when I accused you. Rambo says, I did not let anyone come near me. Prachi says, whatever Siddharth told you, you trust him? Rambo says, I don't trust Siddharth, but I have no reason not to believe him. Rambo says to Prachi that I don't know if I should trust the proofs or trust you, if I should trust my heart or my mind. Prachi looks on in disbelief. Rambo says Siddharth confirmed the proofs. Prachi says you cannot take Siddharth and my name together. Rambo says, why don't you tell me about the baby first? And says I should know about the baby and not Siddharth. Prachi asks Rambo if he is believing what Siddharth said. Rambo says everything was lie, whatever you eat from me, else accept that you are a liar. Prachi says I cannot believe this, and she asks Rambo to answer a question. Rambo says I want an answer too. Prachi asks Rambo to answer if he trusts her or not. Rambo says if I don't, then what will happen? Prachi says then I would think that you have done the same thing with me, which you have done with me before. Rambo says I am not the same as before, but you are still the same. Prachi says leave it. Now it is over between us, neither love nor relationship. Prachi angrily goes away from there. Rambo tried to stop Prachi, but in vain. Prachi goes. Rambo tears the pillows. Rambo sits down on the floor. Prachi is thinking about Rambo's words and she cries. A song plays in the background. Prachi comes to her room. Shahana asks Prachi what happened. Prachi asks Shahana and she cries. Prachi says to Shahana that Rambo asks her that why did she give the news about her baby to Siddharth first. Shahana says you should have asked him if he trusts you. Prachi says Rambo said that he wants to trust me, but his mind is splitted and he says either you trust or you don't trust. Prachi says Rambo doesn't trust me. Shahana says to Prachi that Rambo is trusting Siddharth instead of Prachi. Prachi says Rambo trusts Siddharth, Rhea and Aliyah, and he doesn't trust me. Rambo doesn't trust me and says I am responsible for this and says this has happened with me before. Prachi says I come in his talks always and says I thought that everything would be fine. Prachi says to Shahana that I gave Rambo a chance and he married Rhea, and then also I gave him another chance and he did not trust me. I get food by him again and again because I love him. Prachi says I am suffering due to my true love. Rambo never loved me truly and I am getting punished for my true love. Shahana says to Prachi that you did not commit any sin. I will question Rambo and how can he question you? Prachi tries to stop Shahana. Shahana says today I will question Rambo. She goes. Rambo thinks about Prachi's words. Siddharth is coming from the opposite direction and he asks Rambo to hear him. Rambo says don't and he is about to eat Siddharth but he stops. Siddharth gets angry and he goes to Aliyah and Rhea's room. Aliyah asks how dare you to come here? Siddharth blames Aliyah for attempting to kill him. Rhea asks Aliyah, did you do this? She asks what was the need? Aliyah says my life was not at stake and says don't question me. She says Siddharth said what we wanted. Siddharth says to Aliyah that you know that I would lie to save my sister and I had married Rhea and she is the worst mistake of my life. Siddharth asks why do you come in my life and says because of you I have ruined my brother's life. Aliyah pushes Siddharth down. Siddharth says you shouldn't have been born and if you wanted to be born then you wouldn't have been born as a woman. He says you are not a woman but a witch. Aliyah says no Siddharth. Siddharth says I know you are a cheap woman like Rhea. Rhea keeps her hand on Siddharth's mouth and she asks him to bang his head on the wall or take out his frustration somewhere else. She says before doing judgment on us, think about your sister and think that your dad was a cheap person too. Rhea says to Siddharth that if your father did not have an extramarital affair, then you wouldn't have a stepsister, then we wouldn't have blackmailed you. She asks Siddharth to worry about his stepsister, else he would cry for her dead body. She pushes Siddharth. Siddharth cries. Shahana thinks that where is Rambro and she thinks to question him on why he is still doubting Prachi again for the second time. She comes to his room and asks if he is in the washroom. Shahana asks if your love was this, that you leave Prachi alone whenever Prachi is in need. Shahana asks Rambro to scold her as well, but she couldn't find Rambro in the room. Aliyah and Rhea rejoice seeing Siddharth's helplessness. Rhea asks if Siddharth is done with crying, then he should talk. Siddharth says he feels disgusted with Rhea. Aliyah asks Siddharth not to look at them. Rhea says it is enough of their melodrama. Siddharth says you both are cheap and says you cut the route where you stay. Siddharth says animals are faithful, but you people don't even leave anyone. Rhea hurts Siddharth's injury and asks what is my fault, that I love Rambro and you love me. She says I did so much to get Rambro and says you are a loser not to know that I don't love you. Rhea laughs. Aliyah says well played Rhea. Siddharth says I hate you. Rhea says don't say this and she acted as if she is getting a heart attack. Rhea hugs Siddharth and she laughs aloud. Aliyah says what a loser. Rhea says to Siddharth that you are such a loser that you cannot even eat and you are crying like a small child. Rhea says that one thing that Siddharth did right was how Siddharth made a lie become the truth in front of the family members and Rhea laughs. Okay, let me just explain this episode because I feel like this episode looks complicated in a way. So what happened is Siddharth has a stepsister and Aliyah and Rhea kidnapped the stepsister and they now threaten Siddharth to lie to everyone that he is the father of Prachi's baby. Then after he lied, then that is when they will release his sister. So that was why Siddharth lied that he is the father of Prachi's baby. But in reality, Siddharth is not the father of Prachi's baby. He only lied to just save his stepsister. And yet, Aliyah and Rhea has not even released the stepsister. So let me just clear it like that. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like the video, share it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you.